speak to. My name is Adrian Goldberg. I should stress that I'm here as a strictly independent, impartial and neutral chair with no feelings on either side other than that of seeking to ensure a free and fair debate. And hopefully, as we go through the evening, people will be given the chance to make their views known, to have their questions answered. But obviously, we don't want any repetition of the scenes in London on Saturday night. I don't want any Fortnum and Masons being occupied, and I trust that we'll allow the people who we disagree with to have their say as well. We're here tonight on behalf of Birmingham Friends of the Earth and Sustainability West Midlands, who are keen to broker this debate. Our guest tonight on the anti-side, and to my right we've got Mike Geddes. Mike is an honorary professor at the International Centre for Governance and Public Management for a top business school. Now, I've been a little bit wary of saying where on the programme, but I can let you into a secret. It's in fact Warwick University. In his career, he's undertaken research in the UK and for the UK government. He's also worked for local authorities, leading policy evaluations. He undertakes research on local democracy, local economic development and public services. And he's chair of the HS2 Action Group in Offchurch, which is a village not far from Leamington. So he's, if not somebody who would be directly affected, then he's somebody who would certainly be very closely affected. Christian Wolmar, on my immediate right, is a man I've interviewed many times in my broadcasting work. He himself is a broadcaster and writer, former transport editor of The Independent, has worked for the Yorkshire Post and works across many media outlets as a freelance. World of One, Newsbeat on Radio 1, and Christian also undertakes consultancy work for organisations to better understand the rail industry. In his lifetime, he's won several awards for his work and was named Transport Journalist of the Year in the National Transport Awards in 2007. And then we have the people who are for HS2 on my left. We've got Jim Steer. Jim is one of the country's leading authorities on transport. He's the founder of Steer Davis Gleave, who was managing director until March 2002. Took a 3-year secondment to the Strategic Rail Authority as a member of its executive, with responsibilities for all of its strategic planning activities. Jim has expertise in urban transport planning, in rail investment and in national transport policy. He's the director of Greengauge 21 and is a columnist in the Transport Times. And we also have to my left Martin Dyer. Martin is an associate director at WSP UK, based in Birmingham, and works with the integrated transport team. He qualified as a structural engineer, has 30 years of project management experience, with the last 7 years specifically on transport. He'll be engaged with Birmingham Chamber of Commerce on transport matters, and he's vice chair of the West Midlands Business Transport Group. To start the debate, I'm just looking to see where Joe Peacock has got to. There's Joe. Joe is my timekeeper. So each of the speakers is going to get 5 minutes, and we will strictly adhere to that. When Joe puts his hand up, the speaker will have 30 seconds. I might nudge them as well if they're sitting near to me. But I will be tight on the 5-minute requirement. I then have several questions that have been submitted in advance to Friends of the Earth and to Sustainability West Midlands, and I'll pose those to the panel, but I will hope that we'll give as many people as possible the chance to ask questions from the floor this evening, and we will be closing at 8. There is a time limit on the venue, so that will ensure that we have to disappear before too long. So without any further preamble, if Martin Dyer could open the proceedings. Martin.
Thank you.
Won't start at 5 minutes. Don't.
Thanks, Adrian. It's good to see so many people, and it's actually good to see so many younger faces in the audience as well, so that's good news. Now tonight I'm not going to speak to you as the voice of business. I'm a voice of business. We see lots of people in this region, lots of business people in this region. We don't particularly think this project is a good one. Is that better? Okay. But yeah, there's plenty of business people that that don't necessarily think this is the appropriate thing to spend money on or affordable at the moment. I don't happen to believe that. Now, I'm sure there's lots of you who've got very deeply held beliefs here tonight that this is going to be the worst thing ever, and probably nothing I'm going to say is going to change your views. But the good news is the full consultation document's out now, and I would, if you haven't read the whole thing through it, every bit of paper, page to page, I really would strongly recommend you do, because there's a lot of answers to a lot of questions in there. We've seen a lot of polarisations of opinions from the anti and the pro sides. And, you know, I don't know that I'm pro HS2, but I am actually pro Birmingham, and that's what I'm here to talk about in terms of representing Birmingham and the interest of Birmingham to make Birmingham a better place. And you know, none of us have got a monopoly on what is right or wrong. No particular party, commentator, campsite. We're dealing a lot of assumptions. So, does HS2 even matter to me? Well, one could argue that, you know, perhaps it doesn't. Because by the time the first train's run, if the programme is delivered on time, I'll be retired from work. Now, I'm sure many of you are quite shocked that someone so young looking will actually be retired. But, you know, I will be. So why should I care? Well, I do care, and I care along with many other business people, the length and breadth of the country, and we care about the future economic sustainability of this nation. And if anyone thinks that HS2 is just about a transport project, then I would strongly disagree. And I think it's about investing in our future economy and the economic capabilities. In the same way that the Victorian Railways changed the economic face of this country, we can't expect the next 150 years to remain as a heritage country with a heritage transport system. We have to do something. Therefore, when we think about the project in the round, we need to remind ourselves that we're actually a global industrial player. It's what made Birmingham famous all those years ago and continues to do so. And we don't live in this little West Midlands bubble. Now, as the only speaker on this panel that lives in this region here and works in the city, mine's Warwickshire, but I work in the city. I do care about this area, and more importantly, for the younger generation who's going to have to live with the consequences of our decisions or our lack of them. So my question is, if it's not to be HS2, then what else is it going to be? What else is actually going to bring the jobs, the economic regeneration, the economic sustainability that's going to help us to close the 15 billion productivity gap that we have in this part of the world? Now, in all these many, many arguments against HS2, I've not heard that question answered, what it means for Birmingham, what it means for the West Midlands specifically. Unemployment is a big problem for Birmingham. We're now the highest unemployment rate of all the 8 core cities. We've got an unemployment rate of 11.4%. In the West Midlands, it's at 10%, and we're the second highest next to the North East, which is also going to benefit from ICB2 in the long term. But that's short term. In contrast, it's actually far worse for the younger generation. Youth unemployment stands at 21% almost. So, you know, they might just hold us responsible for that if we don't do something about it. I'm not going to talk about business conditions because we all know they're pretty terrible, and I'm tight on time. The future prospects, however, on jobs are not looking good. The skills investment priorities has calculated that we're going to see a net loss of 38,000 jobs in the public sector, with 310,000 private sector jobs, either at risk as a direct or an indirect result of that. General upskilling will bring some work, and targeted upskilling will bring some work. But if you distill all those numbers down, we're still looking potentially at a drop of 200,000 jobs. It's not going to be HS2 that's going to bring those to us. What is it going to be? It talks about 22,000 jobs in the metropolitan area for the first phase for London and Birmingham section, with a further 38,000 for full network to the north of us. So, again, if it's not going to be HS2, what is it going to be? Can somebody else tell us what is going to bring that order of magnitude of jobs? Okay,
Sorry, time's out, I'm afraid. So thank you for that. We'll get this off to a start. And as I say, I will be strict, and I will be equally strict with all of the other speakers as well. And thank you for your opening remarks. So,
thank you very much. And I have a short PowerPoint, a very short one, seeing it's going to have to fit within 5 minutes. I hope my 5 minutes that starts when the PowerPoint comes up.
The man doing the PowerPoint, the man with the watch. So.
Okay, there we go. Our title this evening is Green Jobs for Birmingham, and I just want to comment briefly on each of those three keywords: green, jobs, and Birmingham. So if I can have the next slide, please. Is HS2 green? And the answer to that has to be no. And there are a number of reasons for that. Here are a few.